Welcome to Around the NHL, presented by Chase. Michelle Gingras alongside Anson Carter, and we are very excited to welcome in Vegas Golden Knights television analyst Shane Hnidy. Shane, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Shane, good to see you.
Good to see you, Anson. Yes, been watching you every night. It's a good thing about being out on the West is I still get to bed at a decent time.
That makes one of us.
I was going to say, yeah, he can't say the same. Shane, we've been asking for just, every broadcaster that we've had on the show, what the adjustment has been like calling games in an empty arena as opposed to what you're used to. And I'm especially curious because I know Vegas, especially that pregame show and just everything they do prior to puck drop is just so electric in that building. So how are you able to recreate that same energy?
It's eerie to go in and there's the ice in front of you. It's all concrete. Usually you have this huge show. But that said, there was a part of it that was so comfortable being in our booth. And you know what? This is a credit to the NHL and the way they've been able to put the sounds of the game and the music. Because once we got to our booth, which faces the rink, we rolled in a huge 60-inch monitor in front of us. So that's our game. And put the headset on. And the first game we did there, it was an entertaining and, the music's going. And there was a point in the game, and I'm not trying to dumb myself down a bit, but I'm like, I got caught up because, I got the monitor in front. I don't see the stands or anything. I lifted my earpiece just like for a second there. I thought the music was coming from the building. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's quiet. There's no one here.
That's what you want.
But it is. So I think the fact that, we all are, I love the game so much. And I focused right in on the game and everything going on that I kind of got caught up in the moment. And there's a split second there that I may have thought, this is normal, but it wasn't. And I think that helped. That helps you call the game. I think the hockey's been highly entertaining. And it's gotten better each round from round robin, the play-in to round one, round two. Everything intensifies. And I think it really helped with the call, just kind of getting caught up in it. You had enough time off that I was so excited to be back calling the games that I think the energy just came naturally.
Well, Shane, speaking of energy coming naturally, that game one, the Golden Knights brought the energy and they spanked the Vancouver Canucks. But there was a response from the Canucks in game two. What was the biggest difference between gaming 1-2 in your opinion? They
finally saw Vancouver's best. The Canucks, this is a team that's got some young elite skill. And we saw with Elias Pettersson, Bo Horvat, you see it with Quinn Hughes, I think JT Miller, Besser, and then Toffoli was a guy who's had experience at this time of year, really made a difference coming in that lineup. And I think the Golden Knights just weren't ready. And I think it was a good game for them to see Vancouver's best. I think they made the adjustments in the second period, but it's tough to chase a game unless you're the Dallas Stars, it seems. But they didn't get to their game quick enough. I think it's a league in which you really want to have a good start. But it was a positive because now they can make the adjustments. They've seen Vancouver's best. I think the Golden Knights is a team that understands they have a lot of depth. When they can roll with that depth, they can use their lineup. Discipline was an issue in the second game. It wasn't in game one. So there's a few things I think they really learned in game two. And a big part of that tie is to make sure they're ready off the start.
You mentioned those adjustments. Pete DeBoer has really had a lot of postseason success. So maybe in some strange way, it was kind of good for him to at least see what Vancouver was bringing to the table in game two. I'm curious, how do you think he makes those adjustments in game three, and what sets him apart and makes him so successful in the postseason?
I think he's just a really good technical coach. And speaking to his past and former players that have gone there, they just talk about how detailed he is in breaking down film, breaking down the opposition, finding, parts of the game that you can hopefully expose in favor of your team. And that comes with experience. I think a coach, as they switch jobs, they always evolve, and the good ones always learn more. I think Pete DeBoer did that before settling in here in Vegas. He didn't like his complete team effort, and that will be addressed. And I think, the group inside the Golden Knights, they got a real strong leadership. Heard Mark Stone talk about how close it is, closest knit group he's been part of. So I think these guys really, there's not a lot of, they understand and move on. They don't have a lot of panic. They're a pretty resilient group, and I expect them to bounce back.
Shane, I want to talk about your goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Leonard for a second. The tweet that Alan Walsh put out, Marc-Andre Fleury's agent, would have the sword stabbing him in the back with Pete DeBoer photoshopped on there. We both know when we played, your agent worked for you. You didn't work for your agent. What's your thoughts on that tweet that Alan Walsh put out, and how is it going to impact the chemistry in that hockey club?
So in this situation, I understand Marc-Andre Fleury. You look at what's a Hall of Fame pedigree and, what he's done for this organization. But the agent's job is to be the buffer of that. It's fine for Marc-Andre Fleury to be upset. And first of all, Pete DeBoer has no history with Marc-Andre Fleury. He came in January. So there's, it's a different situation. I didn't like it. I thought it was over the line. I thought it was unprofessional. I think, as an agent, and I know Alan Walsh is one of those guys, a huge advocate for his players, and he's probably more vocal than most on social media and in his views. But that said, I think this was one that maybe crossed the line where he needed to kind of be that, the buffer of understanding your client. I understand you're upset, but let's deal with this at another time in another way. That didn't happen. I think the Golden Knights, the best thing they could have done was that game one. That's the response you want to have from your team, is to come out and play the way they did. Leonard had the shutout. That said, though, the goalie thing will follow them around. And as you know, Anson, a lot of that, especially this bubble, internally, it's not a big a deal. You handle that as a group. Outside, it's more of the conversations piece, and and that's the job of a media, is to create that type of stuff, that conversation that's going on. But I think in that room, it's not as big of a deal, and I think that team is comfortable with either goalie, and that'll be the big question tonight. Does Marc-Andre Fleury find his way back to the net?
All right. Excellent insight, Shane. Thanks so much for joining us, and good luck throughout the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Doing a great job. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shane. Good seeing you.
Take care.